Greetings. This is a brief post to catch you guys up on the hot news that's hit. Tesla's come out with pricing for the truck. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Bonjour, wie geht's, Strasvice? Tesla on Thanksgiving came out on their website with the pricing for the new truck, which is $150K for the 300-mile version and $180K for the 500-mile version of their truck. There's also a Founder Series that goes for $200,000. In addition, they announced that it's a $20K down to get on the list and be among the first 1,000 to actually get a copy of the truck when they're ready. The $180,000 to $200,000 price range is what we expected. We don't have all the configuration options that are available at that level, but I think the number could go higher than this if you option the vehicle up. How are these numbers? I think there's one estimate we had that on a truck costs around $70 for a Tesla, so even at $150K, it's a nice $80,000 profit to the company, and at the $180K, that's a nice $100,000 in profit to Tesla that they can use to help service the rest of what they're doing. My other analysis of this is that I have to admit I'm kind of stunned, because one of the possibilities that we had presented was the fact that Tesla, in theory, could price the truck that goes 500 miles in a similar price range to the cost that Mercedes has for their 100-mile truck. So it's a good thing Mercedes has protection because Tesla doesn't have enough trucks to go to Europe, because I think that you'd see a lot of potential buyers decide to roll with the Tesla plan as opposed to some of the other competitors, including BYD, as well as Mercedes under the Fuso or other brands that they're selling their electric vehicles under. I'm shocked, surprised, because Elon Musk had made a comment referencing the fact that instead of just a out-and-out charge for the vehicle, he was offering per mile $126 as an expected cost for the vehicle. This is kind of interesting to me because because if you think about it, when you're in a monopoly situation, you can actually get monopolistic pricing, meaning, Tesla's leaving a lot of money on the table for those users. Now, the back end of this might be where it gets really interesting, because if those trucks are forced to use Tesla charging facilities, those charging trucks represent a continuous revenue stream for Tesla going into the future that most of the manufacturers don't have. So I think the aggressive pricing can be designed to sort of set folks up for, long-term consumption of Tesla energy at the charging facilities. The only other thing that I can think of that this brings up is the fact that I'm kind of clueless, like, what is Tesla doing? What I mean by this is that at the rate that we're going right now, it's highly unlikely that all 500,000 Model 3 owners will get their vehicles by the end of 2018, when it's time for the trucks to come out. In fact, what I'm expecting to happen is that after they go through by the end of 2018, when most of the Model 3 owners have gotten theirs, I think there are a lot of interested parties that will show up and try to buy Teslas, the Model 3 anyway. And I think this results in an interesting problem where you have these truck buyers, just like with the Model 3, having to lag 6 months or a year behind schedule. The one concession I noticed Tesla seems to be making in this case is that they're actually going ahead and limiting where the trucks will be sold to just North America. There's no effort to move into Europe because there just isn't enough battery to deliver goods or deliver those vehicles to those other locations. The other sort of mystery that's lurking off the back end is what happens to early order customers who now have gotten their 15 or 20 units, like the testing, and then want to go for a complete fleet with Tesla trucks. And now, how are you going to handle the fact that they delayed the subsequent orders that went with their initial order, and you have all these other new folks that are in line trying to get their trucks as well? So I think this situation presents some very interesting questions about what's going to happen with the truck. My estimate or expectation, frankly, has been that once customers, particularly like Walmart and some of the other well-heeled companies, see the difference in value that Tesla represents, I think you're going to end up with Walmart trying to convert their 6,500 truck fleet to all electric. And if that actually happens, it'll be hard for Tesla to say no to Walmart and yes to smaller companies that are ordering smaller numbers of trucks. So, and not to mention those that are late to the game, that are well-heeled, willing to pay more to get closer to the front of the line, because they feel their businesses are in jeopardy because they can see the cost savings that competitors who ordered early are now getting. So some very interesting questions emerging from this pricing structure from Tesla. I think that the value proposition is unbelievably compelling, and I think the customer response is going to be strong. I was also, another random question that pops up is that Tesla at the announcement indicated that it was a $5,000 down if you were putting money down at that time to get in line for the vehicle. Now that we've increased the down price to $20,000, one wonders what the implications of this are, because should those that ordered the first day or two get a $5,000 when everybody else has to pay $20,000? Most of the buyers who were doing the early orders were actually buying multiple vehicles, so I suppose this is a concession to the fact that they were willing to buy scale volume trucks, and therefore they're getting a lower initial price that they'll have to pay. So some very interesting questions here, but it's good to find out that everything's moving forward to deliver trucks successfully and have them on the roads and reducing pollution. The one jumbo mystery that sits behind all of this, in my mind, is that there's a company called UPS and there's a company called FedEx, both of whom use independent contractors for the trucking side of the business. That's long distance, I believe. But when it comes to sort of moving packages and freight, these are the sort of global leaders. And what's not making sense to me is that how is it that we have some of the richest global leaders out there and we're not seeing any purchases on their part announced yet? It's possible they're doing it in secret, but I'm kind of stunned, because when it comes to economies of scale benefiting that they would benefit from, I just think I just think UPS and FedEx are sort of the largest players, and I have to admit that I've gone skiing a few times and watched the FedEx trucks navigating on 70 from Denver heading towards Salt Lake City, and I really think that company would benefit hugely from having those trailers running electric versus having to climb those giant mountains in regular diesel trucks, both getting up the hill slowly and coming down on the other side. The other sort of random question is that I think we actually did a post on garbage trucks and how impactful folks like Tesla would be in that space. And I guess that's another question that lurks is, will Tesla allow folks to modify the truck to address other markets that they're not addressing with the core truck they're delivering, especially when it comes to things like the the industries like garbage trucks that consume huge amounts of fuel, even though they're not going very long ranges. So some interesting questions emerging based on the pricing, and we'll look forward to providing some answers as we move forward. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks for taking time out. Tschüss, macht's gut, au revoir, Rahut, Hoda Hafez.